Mike, by the way, when you put RTV, make sure it's thicker here, and that's what screwed me the first time I did this. It's a really good tip for caulking, especially around toilets. You take the best caulk smoother in the world, that's your finger. Your wife is gonna love it when you re-caulk all the toilets and showers. Guaranteed. Hey, welcome back. Part 15 of our engine teardown rebuild, which is crazy. If you're new here, this is what happened. Lifter broke. Had to take the engine apart to check it out. Caused a tremendous amount of damage, and we had to take the engine out of the car. And now we're back. So last episode we put the lifters in and checked push rod length, got the right push rods in, and now we're ready to go. So if you are converting your engine to a roller cam, you cannot use the stock valley pan anymore because the lifter bars, the links between the two lifters, will hit the valley pan. No bueno. So to do that, you need to get a new valley pan, and Butler actually sells a valley pan. It's like 3/16 inch aluminum. It's powder coated. This is my third time putting this one in. That's why it looks kind of scuffy. But they sell them with or without a PCV valve. Different colors, like polished aluminum. This one's obviously black. Very cool. So today we're going to do what's called a dry run, because you actually have to put RTV around the whole thing. It does not use a gasket. You can try using a gasket, but it's better off using RTV. That's what Butler does, at least, so that's why I'm going to do it. So I'm going to do a dry run, show you guys where the gaps are, so you can mentally prepare for where to put RTV. So I'm going to change camera angles here. Oh, by the way, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, because I cannot wait to get this thing back in the car and go driving again. And we're going to film all of that. So here we go. Let's get it on. Start things off. The kit comes with 2 screws that go into those 2 holes, and they have an Allen head in one end. It's just a stud and a bolt. I mean a lock nut. And this is covered in RTV because that's what you do when you install it. The other thing to note is, if you remember, the edges of our heads has a little lip on it. We want to make sure we try and get all the oil off first, and we also want to, that's where we're going to line up our valley pan. Now we put our valley pan in, this is just to show you. It doesn't quite fit all the way, and it will leave a gap under here. So that's why we're going to do a dry run, because it is naturally bowed out. So when you bolt it down and pull it in, you're going to pull it in past that edge on the head, and you stop. If you go any farther, these corners are going to lift, and it's going to create more problems. That's why we're doing a dry run. All right, team. So I actually have the valley pan in right past those edges on the heads that I pointed out. Here's the other edge. And look at the gap here, how it's small and then grows. This is what I want us to watch and be careful of. So when I do this dry run, I'm going to fast forward through this process, but it's pretty simple. We're just going to put our studs in, and I'm going to start tightening the bolts going back and forth between each one, and we're going to watch this gap close up. And I'm going to pay attention to the edges. As soon as they start to fall into place evenly, that's when I'm going to stop. So here we go. All right, team, so I tightened it down, so I have about a 1/16 of an inch between the edge of the head and the valley pan on both sides. And basically what you do is you guide it in as you're tightening, like that, with your little wedge tool called a screwdriver. Now let me show you what I was talking about, where the gaps are. So here's the gap I was talking about. So we're nice and flush on the head, but it left this nice big gap right here. If we go to the other side, I don't know if you can see it very well, but there's not much of a gap here. And we're touching right here. So if we keep tightening, this edge is going to peel up even more. And I'll show you the back of the motor. So the back of the motor, you guys can see we're flush at the bottom, but on this radius, there's a big gap. Same with this gap over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and put some green tape on this edge just to remind me that, Mike, by the way, when you put RTV, make sure it's thicker here and over here and on the front versus everywhere else. And that's what screwed me the first time I did this. I didn't put enough on the other corner and it started leaking. So I had to pull it up, put it back down with more RTV. That's why I had to pull it twice. Whew, bummer, right? All right, guys, so here's my green tape, just as a reminder for myself. And I even put some green tape right here, because this is where I did most of my prying when I got it off the engine. So it's a little bit bent up. So I'm going to put some more, a little bit extra RTV in there. That's why I put a half a green tape. I have some tape there. And then our big gap here, I have a bigger piece of tape. So I'm going to take this off our dry run and then prep for our wet run. All right, guys, so I changed my mind. I decided to mask all the way around the edges, and then I marked with a marker where I know I need to put a little extra to cover those gaps that we pre-measured on our dry run. So we're going to use Ultra Black, my favorite. And when you buy a new tube, it actually comes with one of these. You can turn it into basically a mini caulking gun. You can take your knife and cut the tip off at an angle, and now I have a nice little spreader. I'm going to go around, put a light bead all the way around, a little thicker bead in the areas that I marked. I'll put the valley pan in, and then I'm going to go over it again in the areas that I think I missed, and that's where the tape comes into play, because then after we do that, I'll show you guys, you can take the tape off and at least it'll leave a really nice edge. It's a really good tip for caulking, especially around toilets. So here we go. Time for the valley pan. So another thing you're going to want to do is put some RTV with a bolter going. So I got it where I want it. Now I'm going to take a bead and go right over the tape, right along the seam, just like you do when you caulk a toilet. After you get your whole added material down, you take the best caulk smoother in the world, that's your finger, and you just go along the edge. And you kind of push it in there. So after you do that, you take your tape off and it should leave a nice clean line. Just like that. Now another view of what it looks like when you take the tape off, when you pre-mask like this. I could have done another piece of tape on the Valley Pan too, but I don't really care because you're not going to see much of it. But it's a good example of how well the tape works. The pre-mask. Such a nice line. Of course, I took off tape from the little inlet covering, which is not a big deal. Ta-da! We're done with the Valley Pan. I hope you guys liked it. And before you go, remember, go around front and back with a flashlight to see if you missed any spots. Fill them in before it dries. Also go around your nice fresh paint and make sure you didn't get any RTV on that and wipe it off. It wipes off really easy when it's wet. When it's dry, not so much. Oh, and I hope you guys like the masking for caulking trick. Your wife is going to love it when you re-caulk all the toilets and showers. Guaranteed. So, next time we're going to do the water pump. I have some cooling tricks, so stay tuned for that. And you know the drill. Build them fast, drive them faster. See ya.